Hey everybody. So I decided to do this like little recording thing because, and yeah, I know I'm a little late to the whole show with doing an episode on Creepshow, but I really wanted to kind of talk about the series that it was done by Shudder, and really wanted to kind of rank the episodes in the way that I really enjoyed them. Now, if I have to go through real fast and just say whether or not you should watch it, you should watch it. If you really were interested in seeing it and it looked fun and entertaining, it is fun and entertaining. Like it really takes off relatively quickly, and it has a really good first episode. And the series, the reason why I'm so late to actually going and reviewing the whole thing, because I literally just finished this all yesterday, is because I was at the state when this whole stuff started, where I could just put on a random movie at my job because I was the only one there, and I needed something to occupy my time while I was doing the work that I need to do and waiting for the people to make their deliveries and then go home and do all that fun stuff. I watched the first episode and I was so distracted by my work that I was like, I really need to just be able to sit and watch this. And so I finally found the time this last weekend to watch the whole series. I had already seen the first two episodes, and then over Saturday and Sunday, I watched everything else. And so I thought I would make this relatively, hopefully quick video about it. But I really do want to say that the biggest bonuses for these episodes for me was the fact that everything is almost practical effects. Most of the stuff that you see out there, it's completely practical, and it looks fantastic. There's a couple of little cheesy things that they have to do. There's some episodes that have some really good practical effects, and then some other ones that are kind of like, the makeup is very good too. So if you really want to see some like outstanding gore effects, and there is some gore that is CG, right? And there's one episode that has it, but I really doesn't bother me so much. But a lot of the stuff that they do is really practical, and it's really like straight up like a regular like good looking makeup effect, right? Now, do the sets, they can be really cheesy, and especially one of them that it's obviously just filmed inside of some type of warehouse. Like I'm almost watching Death Factory or some shit like that. And so it can get like that, but in general, and sometimes the lighting is a little bit too, but it really leads to like that comic book type of feel that you get out of the episodes. And it really is like watching the first or the second Creepshow. Like I feel that the stories are relatively good. And even the ones that I would consider not my favorite, they have redeeming qualities to them that makes it still very entertaining and interesting to watch. So, there are 6 episodes in total, and every episode is divided into 2 stories, right? So you get, at least for most part, and this was the only thing that was a little bit weird to me, in some of the episodes, even though it's 45 minutes of a show, some of them are exactly, if they're right down the middle, this gets like 20 minutes and this gets 20 minutes, and you get a good story for both. And then there's a couple where one is much longer than the other. And there's one of those stories, I think, that gets hurt by that, where I wish I had seen more. And all of a sudden I was looking down at the timer and I was noticing, oh, hey, we've already done a little bit of the story, and there's, 5 minutes left. And I'm like, really? So the first one like took forever. And so I just want to go through, what were my favorites, which ones were good. So the first one, I'm just going to go quickly through the different episodes, what's in each episode, and then I'll break down the actual stories by my favorite rank. So the first one is a really good starter. It's Grey Matter and the House of the Head. They're both very good stories. One is actually based on a story by Stephen King. And then the rest of them are kind of all, some of them are based on stories, some of them are brand new. Second episode, you had Bad Wolf Down and The Finger. You had number 3 was All Hallows Eve and The Man in the Suitcase. Number 4, The Companion, and Lydia Lane's Better Half. Then you had episode 5 is Night of the Paw and Times is Tough in Musky Holler. And then the last one is Skin Crawlers and By the Silver Water of Lake Champlain. I'm looking down, I'm reading because I can't remember all those off the top of my head. So, like I said, they're all good. They're all pretty good episodes. So if you go through them, and they're all different in their own way. So and I guess maybe I'll do it like this. I'll start with number 12, and then I'll kind of explain what the episode is and why it was my number 12. So number 12 on my list is actually Lydia Lane's Better Half. Now, that story is basically about a lady. She's, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say, maybe I'll put across the top, like up here, like there are going to be some spoilers if you're watching this. I'm going to try to do my best to not give major things away, but a synopsis of the episode, at least the base of it. And if you don't want to know anything about that, so maybe you go watch them, come back and watch the rest of the video. But I won't give away like big things. But basically, a lady in this one, she's going to be given a promotion to somebody. And then, it happens to be that it's between her lover and this other dude. And, she doesn't give it to her lover, and then stuff ensues. It's my least favorite because I feel like it doesn't go really anywhere. Like I get what they were trying to do and how they were trying to do it, but it really doesn't. I just feel like it just got boring, and I'm like, why are we going in this direction? Like, I feel like things could have been better in the way that it was presented. And I do like I said, even though it's my least favorite, it's still not bad. It's like still like, it's not maybe everybody's going to be team. Maybe this is one of somebody else's favorite episodes that there is out there of this show. But for me, I just felt like it just fell short just by a little bit. And there was some cool things that they were kind of trying to do, and it just kind of ends kind of funky. Number 11 on the list is Times is Tough in Muskie Holler. Now, I really like the effects in this one, and it starts off pretty good, but this is the one that is the shortest out of all of them, and I feel like it needs more time. What it does keep it short, and I guess it can kind of fit into that realm, but in general, it's just a little too short for me. I really wish we had learned a little more. I wish there was a little bit of the backstory. Like the backstory comes in there, and this one is really about a town that turns on their mayor because he's just become, him and his cronies have all just, basically taken over the town. But there's a little twist in it as well. And you learn a little bit about that twist, but it seems like it's so fast. And because that's the one where I looked down and I was like, oh, holy shit, there's only like 5 minutes left of this and we're ready at this part. Like that episode had to have been like 12 to 15 minutes long, where the first one was like a half an hour. After that, it's The Companion, which that's the one that's combined with Lydia Lane's Better Half. Now, The Companion, it starts off like almost like a Stand By Me type of thing. Basically, there's a kid and his brother bullying him, and then he goes to this farm, and that's where he runs into this guy that made a companion for himself. And the monster effect is really cool. I really like the way they did the costume. I really like the fact that the scarecrow thing, like how it like does stuff, around, and like the tree limbs come out. I thought that stuff was really neat. But it just, again, it felt like a throwaway episode. Like, and the one, like, this is a weird situation where the two episodes here, like, really feel like the throwaway ones of the entire series. But in general, I just felt like it needed something more. And the ending on that one is actually pretty good for when he gets revenge on his brother. But how they get to that point, it's kind of like, I just, like, I liked it, but I wish it could have been a lot better than it actually was. Number 9 is By the Silver Waters of Lake Champlain. And now this one is like the last episode of the entire series so far. It's getting a season 2, but I don't know when that's going to happen. This one, it's good. It's got kind of like a radio flyer type of vibe to it. Basically, these kids, their dad dies, trying to find something that's like a Loch Ness monster. And so they go, and everything ensues with the stepfather and everybody else that's in it. It's okay. It's got a good creature effect, has a good creature into it, but otherwise it just moved a little too slow for my tastes for this one. Then you have Night of the Paw, and that's the one that's mixed with the Holler episode. That's really short. And Night of the Paw is really long. It's probably the longest out of all the ones, at least I think, in the way that it feels. And that kind of hurts it a little bit. The story is good, and it's a lot about fate. And I like the ending and what they did at the end, but it's also stupid at the same time, because it's like, why would you do that? Doesn't make any sense why you would do that, but that's the why you did that after you saw everything there. But there's a lot of talk about fate and how fate kind of like drives everybody and how this drives the story along. Like I said, it's still pretty good. It's not necessarily, good enough in comparison to the rest of them, but it's still like a good take on the monkey's paw like story. Like moments you see it, okay, I guess what's going on. Number 7 is the one that was written originally, or the story is by Stephen King. It's called Gray Matter, and this one was teleplay, was done by Brian Willinger. And I'm just thinking about that off the top of my head. But this one is pretty good. It's a great introduction to the series and the way they do it. And it's got Tobin Bell in it, but he's only in it for like a little bit. And basically, it's about a grieving father that becomes an alcoholic, but the thing that he starts drinking is not necessarily what we think it is. And it has, I think, a really good ending. Like, I like the ending of this one, but everything kind of leading up to it was just kind of, it's like overshadowed by everything else. Like, you got a pretty good ending and I didn't see it coming, but it's still not necessarily where I kind of want it to be for this series. But it's a great starting episode to it. And its actual companion episode is one of my favorite ones. Then you have the Bad Wolf Down, and this is one that has really good practical effects, and basically is about, it's World War II, bunch of soldiers, their whole platoon is basically being wiped out. Dude Man, the main captain, kills a guy, and so they escape from the Nazis into a place, and they end up going into like almost like a prison where there's something there that they don't, quite realize what it's going to be. It's pretty good. Like the special effects and practical effects that they use for this episode are a lot of fun. I think where it ends up is a lot of fun. And this is where it's hard to actually pick the ones that are my favorite. Like, the 2 that are my favorite, hands down. But to get up to this point, I mean, right now, this is number 6. It's really between 4, 5, and 6. They're kind of all together. And I just put 1 or 2 ahead of the other just because, like, I felt there was something in it that was a little better than the other. And I feel like this one, it's the acting that hurts it a little bit. But in general, I feel like it's still a really entertaining story and the effects are really good. And so you really can't go wrong with Bad Wolf Down. Then you have The Man in the Suitcase. That one, it's not what I expected it to be either. And then when I realized what it was going to happen in the episode, I was really happy that they made a story about this. Basically, it's about a kid that he's broken up with his girlfriend and he's coming home because he had to ask his dad for money to continue to do in college. She broke up with him. He accidentally calls her, but he grabs a suitcase that has a man in it. And the man, whenever he gets hurt, he spits out gold. That's your basis for the story. I'm not going to say where it goes from there, but it's really, really entertaining. And to see where things go in the story, I kind of got those vibes right away. And maybe that's why it's not as high as it is in the list. But I feel like it's got some really good acting. It's got a really good story. It has a really great ending in the subject matter of what they're talking about. And especially when that thing pops out, it's great. It's a little cheesy, but I really enjoyed this episode specifically. After that, it's Skin Crawlers. And Skin Crawlers has Dana Gould. And that's the main reason why it's number 4 out of the list. And out of 4, 5, and 6, it might have been a little further down. And it's got a great little creature at the end. Basically, the idea behind this one is that this guy, he's overweight, and there's this new medical procedure that basically involves a leech of sorts that sucks out the fat of people. And he's, he was reluctant, and then later on he's going to do it, and there's dire consequences. This one is not as much like in the horror thing. It's a lot more, I feel like there's more comedic timing to this one. It's a little cheesy at times, but once things go down, it blows everything else out of the water. And this is where there's kind of some of those CGI effects for some of the gore and the violence, but I don't really care about them. I don't really notice them that much. But I really like how everything went. And there is a kind of a moralistic aspect to this about, cheating and not doing things the normal way. And it just was unexpected when things started happening, and a little bit, just a little bit, because I knew that things were going to go down. I just didn't know exactly how. And when you get to the final part of it, that really surprised the hell out of me. All right, so now we're down to the top 3. These are my favorite out of the entire series. And again, I think 1 and 2 have a chance to fight for each other, but this one definitely is a good number 3 for me, and that's All Hallows Eve. And this one is literally because of the story. This one truly reminds me of almost like a Stand By Me type of thing. Maybe not so much, but definitely a more realistic tale. It's about a bunch of kids that they all meet up on Halloween night to go trick-or-treating together because that's what they do. But then there's something kind of sinister about them. And I felt like the acting in this one was pretty well done. It almost actually reminds me of a more grown-up, like, Are You Afraid of the Dark type story, where they're horror stories, but there is like a moral angle to everything, and there's a lesson that's to be learned about this. And there's a little bit of a lesson, not a terribly big lesson, but just the way that it's written and the way that it's directed and the way that it's shot, it really does feel like one of those Are You Afraid of the Dark type episodes. And so I just really enjoyed this one, and it's definitely deserves the spot for me at number 3 on the list. Number 2 on the list, and this one was hard because this is the episode that really got me interested. Like the first one, Grey Matter, I was like, okay, but this one, I really felt it was extremely well done in the way that it was. But there's something about the number 1 episode that really pushes it, and it's because of the actor that's in it and the way the episode is done. But this one is called The House of the Head. And this is basically like if you're looking in on a ghost story, but it's on a house, right? Basically, the little girl, she has a dollhouse, and then there's just like a random head in there, and it ends up becoming like this haunted house thing with this zombie, but she's watching the dolls experience the zombie stuff. And it's really good. I really enjoyed the way that it got to the ending. I really was just trying to figure out where it was going to go next. It really surprised me, and it really surprised me how well the series could be written and made me want to watch more. Because usually on something like this, I'll look at the first episode, decide whether I really want to watch it. This made me want to watch the whole thing. I'm like, if everything is up to snuff, like the first one was pretty good. You know, it had some great moments in it, but this one to me was so good that it made me want to just do the rest of it and to devote my time to actually watching it and keeping the distraction away from everything else that I was doing. All right, and so number 1 on the list out of all the stories I loved is called The Finger. Now, The Finger I really enjoyed because DJ Qualls does such an excellent job in this episode. Basically, you got an out-of-luck loser, and he has recently had his wife leave him. He's facing debt collection. He's facing a lot of other trials, like he's not able to get the work that he needs and that he wants to do because it's all just cheesy shit that he doesn't want to do as a graphic designer. And then while he's walking around, he finds a finger, and then trouble ensues from the finger. It is so well done. I love the way that the episode breaks the fourth wall, and that he's constantly talking to you, and you can't tell if he's sane or crazy the entire episode. How when like the cops show up and he talks to you, oh yeah, this is what's going on. You don't know what to believe necessarily in the episode. And it's so well done. And I like the creature effects that happened in the episode. I really just, even though the story is very base, just the way that it's presented and the way that the character, like, he kind of shines. Because it's just him, basically, in the whole episode. And he's just so good. And I've really liked DJ Qualls for a long time as an actor. And it's cool to see him in something, even if this is just a bit part, it's cool to see him in an episode like this. And I think that, you know, that's one of the reasons why this became my favorite. And if it was somebody else, then maybe I wouldn't have liked it so much. But I really had to keep thinking over the top ones. And I wasn't sure if The House of the Head was going to be my number 1 or The Finger was. And I thought, oh, The Finger is going to be a strong number 2. But the more I thought about it and the more I created my list, The Finger is my favorite episode out of the whole thing. So have you guys seen this already? Have you, had the chance to go into Shudder and watch Creepshow? If you haven't, make sure that you do. I think that it's worth your time. And there's a lot more about the episodes that I'm not talking. Maybe your favorite isn't what's mine. Let me know down in the comments below. and we can have a conversation about it all. But I thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to go ahead and follow the podcast when it's available next. We just did an episode on Bleeders. Did an episode on Friday the 13th part 2. Sorry, not Friday the 13th. I keep fucking saying that. But did an episode on A Nightmare on Elm Street part 2, Freddy's Revenge, with a good friend Neil. And that was a very fun episode. And the next one that I'm going to be doing is going to be The People Under the Stairs. So don't forget to go ahead and listen to the podcast when you have the ability to, wherever your podcasts are found. So that's it. I'll see you guys later on another quick movie video. So peace.